Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Lamberski. I'm Professor of Communications Media here at IUP. I'm also a member of the Advisory Board of the Career Development Center. Over the last several years, we received some state money that permitted us to bring some human resource directors from all over Western Pennsylvania. And we had about 7 guests that we've invited. In looking at the footage that we've aired on television over the last several years, we realized that there are some very, very good suggestions that they offer. So we decided to produce this tape, The Best of the Best. One of the first things that I always talk about when I help people market themselves is it's critical in today's landscape, employment landscape, that you have a good resume and cover letter. So let's listen to some of the advice regarding resumes and cover letters our guest had to say.
First thing I would mention to you is something that a principal mentioned at an employment seminar we had for our SDUC candidates, that's our school district university collaborative candidates, our student teachers. And he said, I like to see the value you add with hard metrics. So for example, in your student teacher first year of teaching, you might say that I, working with one student, advanced them from below basic to proficiency in 1 year, or I was able to increase something by this percentage, or it's good to have some kind of metrics or to show hard accomplishments, or I started this club at the school where I was. As a matter of fact, one of the student teachers this year started a chess club, and that's pretty innovative, and that's who our principals are looking for. Remember, Pittsburgh Public Schools right now is engaged in a big effort right now, big initiative around effective teaching. And one principal mentioned at this event that I'm not just looking for a teacher that's good, I'm looking for a teacher that takes my breath away. And that's what he's looking for in an interview, somebody who takes initiative and who can prove that with examples on their resume, with things they've done in the past. And it doesn't always have to be a teaching experience, but if you can link a past work experience with how it could be beneficial in the student atmosphere, that's also something they like to hear about. Just certain qualities that show you can be effective at a job with Pittsburgh Public Schools.
Things that I look for would be that they have the degree, because you do need to have a degree to come into our program. And for our business, we ideally like to see management, business management, communication, but I was a biology and secondary education major. So my major was something much different than what I'm actually doing today. And Enterprise really prides itself on the training program. So we will bring you in to teach you the aspects of the business, as long as your interest is in the management, the sales, the customer service type of industry.
He may have a sort of a generic cover letter that he has written, but that really doesn't work. You have to look at what job are you looking for, and then make sure that you're highlighting the skills or the experiences that really speak to that opportunity. And so I know when I was in the job market, I had a number of different paragraphs talking about skills that I would adjust to the particular opportunity. So you would never see the same letter for a different job. And that's really, a student has to take the time to customize his cover letter if he's going to do one, and also make sure that his resume is consistent from top to bottom about what he wants to do and who he is.
Anything particularly in the cover letter that you look for besides just a listing of the skills they might have, or anything that pops out?
Well, it's not just the listing. It's how are they transferable, and how did you develop those skills? You know, a lot of students will tell you that they have, you know, good oral communications, good teamwork skills, but just listing them is not enough. Where did you get that experience? How do you know you have that skill? What behavioral type of thing will convince me that you have it?
When you develop a marketing package, in addition to a resume and a cover letter, it's very important in some cases to have a reference listing or recommendations. And let me explain the difference between the two. In the olden days, 15, 20 years ago, almost everyone asked for letters of recommendations. And you might still need letters of recommendations if you're applying to graduate school. But in most cases, most employers just want a reference listing. A reference listing would state a contact's name, their address, a phone number, and they would be called for a reference on you. So let's see what some people said regarding reference listings and recommendations.
I'm hoping that this person can talk very openly about the applicant, and they know them very well, and that they can also talk about things that this person has done that the recommendation can attest to. That's what I'm really looking for.
And when you call someone, say if you called me, if I was going to be a recommendation for either a student or for a person that's graduated, alumnus, what are some of the questions you might ask me as a person that is a reference?
I have a few questions I do ask. First and foremost, I hope that the student or the applicant does let the person know that they're going to be used as a reference. Many times I've called and people are confused about who I'm talking about or who I'm asking about, so I have to stress that point first. Some of the questions I'll ask are verifying any employment dates or dates they've worked with this person or dates they say they've known this person. I'll ask them what this person's strengths and weaknesses are. We ask them what can they further develop on if we hire them, what should we help them develop. We ask them if they would hire them, so I would ask you, would you hire this person? We ask what kind of leadership roles they've been in, what kind of teamwork roles they've been in. So those are the kind of questions I hit on, and I'm hoping that I can get examples out of the references.
After you have a good marketing packet, resume, cover letter, recommendations, or reference listing, you've got to be prepared for an interview. And a lot of people don't know what are the key components of an interview and how our employer looks at that interview and evaluates it. So let's go over some suggestions on interview strategies for you, given what the employers had to say. Here we go.
One thing that I tell a student is you have to practice. You have to seek opportunities to practice. If the school offers mock interviews, go as many times as possible, get feedback from as many people as possible, because even saying the same thing, it has a different impression on different people. So practice, 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 so that what you're saying about yourself is just a natural narrative, and it doesn't feel like it's been memorized. But it really, you have memorized it, but it's just become a part of you. And so that's it. That's the key. And it's that 60-second interview, that 60-second message that you have about yourself that now you're going to expand to, for your first interview is about 20 minutes. So it's going to expand to about a 20-minute interview about who am I, what have I done, what has been my successes, and sometimes you talk about some of the things that you weren't successful at, but how you grew from those. So you're talking about growth, your success, and your skills as it relates to the job that you're interviewing for. And that really just takes practice.
Having information about the company that you're interviewing for is extremely important. I can tell you that one of the first questions we ask you may be, tell me a little bit about the Summit Academy. What do you know about our program? And then it gives us an understanding of how much research this individual has actually done about employment and maybe how serious they are about a position within our program. We may also ask them, what interested you in a position here? And then we ask that question basically because maybe they have had a past class or past experience in working with at-risk youth, or maybe there's something in their past that triggered them to choose juvenile justice. But I would say it's extremely important to have information in regards to the employer before going into the interview. I think another thing that's extremely important is being able to convey what's on your resume into words. So being able to communicate what's on your resume in speaking with the interviewer is extremely important. And to also highlight your key strengths and why those are your key strengths. I know a lot of employers are doing behavioral-based interviews now, so they may ask you, tell me how you handled this situation, or how would you react in a situation like this? So it's important to know what's on your resume and now know how to communicate that.
This may seem like a soft answer, but a lot of principals tell me they look for somebody who's passionate about teaching. And that's something that can't always be rehearsed. It's not something that can be just scripted always. It's something that they can pretty much tell from their years of experience as principals if it's genuine or not. But they say sometimes they hear the answer that is expected, and that's not always the best answer, but they enjoy those candidates that truly have a passion for teaching and those core goals behind teaching, helping students achieve, why they're interested in teaching, it being a genuine reason. They ask questions about students in general, philosophies around who students are. They want to get to the core of some of those sometimes controversial things in you that you might not have thought about really yourself, but that would really, really be important to your success in the Pittsburgh Public Schools and the challenges that that kind of job in urban education bring.
A unique area of marketing yourself in the last several years is job fairs. A lot of people don't understand what a job fair is or how to get ready for one. So during our interviews in the last several years, we asked human resource directors, how can a person better prepare themselves to maximize their impression at job fairs? Let's see what they said.
Well, three parts to a job fair. One is before you even get there. Generally, in most job fairs, there's a book that says what companies are coming. You should get that book, study that book, find out what companies am I particularly interested in, and then what does that company have to offer. So you should know that information and then be able to speak directly to that company about what they offer and based on what your skill level is. So you do that up front. Then when you come to the company, you should already have what I call your elevator speech or your 60-minute speech ready, 60-second speech ready, so that when you approach whoever that person is representing that company, you can direct their attention to you about how you fit their needs. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, students make a mistake of coming up and trying to ask the company, what are you looking for? Well, you should already know that because it's already written somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so you should be able to, because you only have, at the most at a job for 3 minutes to make an impression. And I say you really only have 60 seconds because if you don't, you make it right away. Mm-hmm. And so the student has to be very aware of what he's coming for, what he's interested in, and how he fits the company's needs.
Mm-hmm. We do attend job fairs. The Pittsburgh Public Schools does attend job fairs. And at a job fair, I would say, if your students could do what I call the elevator speech, and I'm sure you know what the elevator speech is, the job fair isn't necessarily the time where you engage in a 30-minute interview as you might during the hiring process. But if you could, in a nutshell, knowing that the recruiting coordinator at the job fair is probably meeting hundreds and hundreds of people or dozens and dozens of people, depending on the size of the fair, knowing that that is the case, saying something about yourself that stands out, grabs the attention, and makes me say, I'm keeping this resume to the side and highlight this person's name, reaching out to them because they're going to be perfect for our district. I'll recommend this person to one of our principals. Mm-hmm. So that's something I would recommend, but come prepared. Know about our district. I'm always impressed with somebody who, especially right now, I mean, our district is in the news. We're one of 4 districts who has gotten this funding from the Gates Foundation around teacher effectiveness. It's a big deal.
So looking at your website.
Looking at our website.
Doing a little literature review.
Exactly. Doing a literature review. Knowing a little bit and asking questions around those things. That shows me that you're really engaged, you're really interested in working for us, and that you're passionate about the job of teaching.
When we look at marketing yourself in today's landscape, we see that there are some advanced topics that are kind of unique. When I discussed with these human resource directors from Western Pennsylvania what might be appropriate, they revealed some interesting factors. And one was about the training or orientation that one might receive when they start with their companies. So we thought we'd share that with you in this Best of Best.
We are known for the entry-level manager training program, and so we do a lot of college recruiting because Enterprise hires more college students than any other company. And what we're doing is we're known for teaching you the aspects of running a business. So you will learn hands-on how to rent cars, deal with customers, problem solve. We pick customers up. You'll be responsible for kind of behind the scenes duties, the accounts payable, the accounts receivable. You'll do the cash box, go to the bank. You'll network with not only the employees in your office, but you also get a chance to do some marketing and sales calls with local businesses. So it is a sales management training program, which will focus on customer service, daily interaction. It's a very busy environment. It's actually a very fun place to work because we're bringing you in, we're giving the students and anybody coming in entry level a chance to learn the aspects of the business by doing it hands-on each and every day.
Our students are hired by a particular business, but we have what we call CORE, which is a training that each student, each new hire will go through. And it gives each of them a shared experience so that it also increases their network. And CORE is in 3 phases. The first phase is a general introduction to the corporation and its senior management. So the new hire will meet all the senior management, understand the values of the corporation, the culture they're working in, and then meet other people and their peer group and all different parts of the business. Secondly, the second phase is it will be business specific. So whatever business you're going through, they'll have their phase of training. And that could be, say if you're going to be a corporate banker, where you're going to go through credit training. So there's an extensive 6 weeks immersion in the credit process, the underwriting skills that are necessary, and how do you underwrite a loan, how do you evaluate a company. So they'll go through that. And then the third phase, that class will come back together and start doing some general product knowledge about the company, some additional soft skill development, and then there's a graduation. It's about a year long.
Another advanced feature that we like to talk about now came out of the interviews. And one of the things I always like to ask human resource directors is, how does a person play up leadership? Employers want people who lead or play up unique characteristics they might have. So that's one question I asked a few of the interviewers is, how does someone play up leadership or unique factors that might make a difference in them getting the position? Let's listen to what they said.
Not only do we look for leadership roles, we also look for athletics. Individuals, because it is challenging going through college for 4 years and just meeting the requirements for your classes, but also if you're involved in athletics, you're doing something extracurricular. You're also balancing a schedule where, you have practices at set hours, and then you also are attending classes as well. So it shows that you have, multiple skills, or you're able to handle multiple tasks. And it also shows, again, leadership, organization, commitment, teamwork, all things that we look for in an individual when they come to work or apply for a position with us.
Like I said, on the resume, there needs to be something that talks to that. It can't just say, I have leadership skills. It needs to demonstrate that. I have leadership skills because I served as the president of this organization, and during that time we did this. That's what we want to see, as opposed to just saying, I have leadership skills. Again, in the interview process, you need to talk about it. You need to say what you've done as far as a leadership has done, what results came out of it, how you enjoyed serving that. You need to be able to elaborate on those facts.
And in personal skills, what do you look for there?
I would say the ability to discuss openly with somebody, or to be okay with talking. And I understand people that aren't okay with it, but if they can tell me they're not, I know that they know they're going to work on it. So it's important to be able to see a fault if you have something, say, in interpersonal skills, that you point out and say you're willing to work on it.
We're looking for leaders who also know how to function in a team as well, because when you have a team of leaders, everybody can't lead. And so you have to understand how to share the workload, how to balance, how to make sure that each person is involved, and when it's your time to perform, that you're ready to do that, and that you're participating, but you're also contributing as well. And I think you could see that, because we have a lot of workshops that we have our students go through, and we could see the ones that are really working on the team, that are participating, making sure their team is successful, not just them. And there's many opportunities to show that.
Another advanced issue that came up during our human resource director questioning was a surprise to me a little bit. And I oftentimes ask them, if someone does not have a specific degree, can they apply for a variety of different jobs? Now, we do know that some jobs, say if they need a computer programmer, you need a computer programming degree. But I was rather surprised to hear that employers do not mind a wide variety of humanities background, communications background, creative arts background. Let's listen to what they say about how accepting they are, giving people with varied backgrounds applying for professional positions.
We have some target areas, engineering, IT, HR, that we hire from, but at the same time, a degree, we know you would come in with a certain amount of knowledge, and that's fine. And you have to realize too, with a company, yes, we do manufacture sausage, but we have an administrative side to that. We have a management side to that to keep the operation running. So there's positions that you wouldn't even think about that exist in our company that these people would fill.
We take a variety of different backgrounds. Primarily, we recruit criminal justice, psychology, sociology, anything basically in the human service field. And we also have a teaching program as well. So we'll recruit in the education field. So secondary education, math, science, history, social studies, phys ed, anything like that, we recruit as well. But for our counseling program, we have individuals that have graduated with a business degree. So it just basically depends on the individual. We usually like to bring them in for an interview, see, if they meet certain or they have certain characteristics that we look for, because you can't really determine that through a degree.
Mm-hmm. Another advanced factor, which was a surprise to us, was sometimes some of our employers revealed some of the mistakes that interviewers can make. Some are funny and some are pretty sad. Let's listen to some of the things they mentioned about costly things you could do, either in your credentials or during interviewing, that might cost you a position.
And that was actually for an internship, yawn once. So I don't know if I was boring this person or if this person was tired, but if they can't get through, again, a 30-minute or a 45-minute interview without yawning or being tired, I worry about an 8-hour workday. So that's been a red flag for me. And on that same fact, I've called potential interns and applicants to schedule interviews, and I'll say, how's 8 a.m.? When they hesitate or try to change that schedule, it puts a red flag up for me because they're obviously not wanting to be there early in the morning. So we start evaluating a candidate obviously way before they even come in, how they are on the phone, how their demeanor is, if they hesitate when I say I need you there at 8 a.m. to interview. So those are some red flags that I need people to be aware of.
Last year we had 155 interns.
Wow.
And so when we bring them all together, there is an opportunity for people to hide, just to hide. And then at the end of the summer, when they're looking for an opportunity, and I'll say, well, I don't remember you. And generally the people I don't remember, and my staff doesn't remember, are the people who did not get involved. They just came to the event, sat there and watched, and they might have learned something, but they didn't contribute. And so therefore they didn't distinguish themselves in any way. On the interview process, it really is just not being prepared.
Yes.
At all interviews can tell if a student is not prepared, which really indicates that this really isn't important to you. And we really want to hire people that want to work for PNC, are motivated to work for PNC, and you could see that from the very first time they walk up to you.
Mm-hmm. Given the 3 years of work we've done on this employer series, sometimes we're surprised what some human resource directors might say or share. So the best category for this is other. These are some other comments that might be of interest to you if you're trying to market yourself within the Western Pennsylvania area. Enjoy.
Take time to sit down with maybe a pen and paper so they could take notes on some of the things that we talk about. But really one of the first things that we ask them is what they're looking for. We need to make sure that for our program, it is a sales, management, customer service type of business, which is very busy. It's a lot of multitasking. So if there are some people that are looking for a desk position or strictly accounting, maybe they're not really interested in sales, then maybe that wouldn't be the type of role that they were looking for within our company. So we ask them what they're looking for. We talk about their experiences. We give them an update on what our pay would be like, what our hours would be like. So we're very upfront ahead of time so that we know that it's a good match for them and for us. And then we talk about their driving record, how far they're willing to travel for work. So it's a basic screening process to make sure that really what they're looking for and what we have to offer kind of matches up.
I do check them because it's a good thing to see, and my advice is to keep those private, keep those pictures and language off of there. We do have our background screens outsourced, so a third company is doing the research. They're looking at your criminal record, they're looking at your Social Security record, they're looking at everything. They're also verifying your employment dates as well as the reference checks that we do. So there's a lot of checks out there that you need to be conscious of when you're applying for a position.
Thank you very much for watching this tape today, the best of the best of the Employer's Corner. You will notice in the credits that the 7 employers that we interviewed, we will give their contact information for you. If you're a student here at IUP and going for an internship, you might want to contact them. But if you're an alumnus, or perhaps you're somebody in the community that watches this tape and you want perhaps a new position, that contact information will be valuable for you too. Also, if you're a human resource director and want me to interview you, please contact me. My contact information will also be on the credits. I hope you've enjoyed the best of the best, the Employer's Corner. Goodbye now.